All right. There he is, ready to go. How you feeling, my man? Feeling good?
Feeling good. Feeling a little bit refreshed after the travel back was rough and being in those cold temperatures. So took a couple days, caught up on some sleep, and I'm feeling pretty good now. Ready for the off season.
No frostbite, no fingers or toes fell off or anything like that. You good?
No. I was in a warm press box, and then it's minimal time that I have to spend outside in those sub-zero temperatures. But I did experience the coldest I ever have. It got down to 10 below when I was returning the rental car the next morning after or before the sun came up. So it was 10 below with wind chill. I mean, it had to be like below 30. So getting out of the car and then walking up to where the shuttle is was about the coldest it ever got. But even with gloves on, man, that thing freezes your hands. That was the biggest thing. That's where I felt it the most.
Yeah, I could imagine, bro. I mean, man, that's some cold stuff, dude. That was wicked ass weather there, and let's hope that they can avoid that next year somehow. Like by winning enough games and staying home. Something that Pat Mahomes is playing his first road playoff game this weekend.
Right. In conditions that he's used to anyway. So, but Dolphins are not used to these conditions. And
No.
Tua had that 0-4 record in below 40 temperatures, let alone sub-zero. And the Dolphins hadn't even faced below 40 temperatures all season. So it's a drastic difference going into that for a playoff game. I mean, honestly, I felt for all players, my hands were freezing.
There we go. Okay, so you were saying about the cold weather in Tua.
Well, I was just saying what I experienced, and I couldn't imagine playing a football game in those temperatures and playing without gloves. But I know the players get Vaseline all up on their arms and everything. So, hey, Tyreek Hill still caught that touchdown. Players survived it, but I definitely feel for them from what I experienced.
I'm with you there. All right, so obviously you look at the off season now. What are you expecting the Dolphins to do?
Boy, that's a loaded question.
Are you expecting any changes anywhere?
Wholesale changes, I think not. I think it'll be some tweaks. I think the Dolphins kind of they're committed to this plan right now. So it's a big deal about whether you'll bring back Wilkins, what they do with Tua. I think with Tua, you do let that fifth-year option play out, and then you take it from there. Now, if he has a great season, it could become more expensive for you afterwards. But just do you really want to commit yourself when you do have this window and you have the quarterback that you've been grooming up to this point, and then you could also franchise tag him after that. So I felt like it was leaning toward an extension the way the season was going, but then the way the season ended, it left a lot to be desired. Still questions remain about him competing at the highest level against the top teams, him handling pressure, the cold temperatures, which if you're going to win a big playoff game on the road, you're going to have to face those type of conditions in January on the road against northern teams in the AFC. But aside from that, I'm not too worried about, let's say, like that 41 million over the cap figure, because the Dolphins can do a lot. I was running through numbers earlier, and just by restructuring Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, and Bradley Chubb, converting the base salary into bonuses, then they already get back into the positive off those three alone. And then that doesn't even account for you can move on from Emmanuel Ogbah if you do a post June 1 cut on Xavier Howard, all those kind of things. So there's still plenty of flexibility for the Dolphins.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I've been telling everybody that, because there was too much FUD out there, fear, uncertainty, and doubt put in by the media. Oh, all these cap problems. And I've been telling them for months now, there are no cap problems.
Now, eventually it catches up to you.
Yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that. Don't tell me that. Omar, my man Omar just learned that. Now he's finally learning that the cap is real. So I know that the cap is real, but I know you can play with it for a little bit more. As I've told everybody, you have 2 years left to play with the cap. And then in 3 years, hell will freeze over and you will not have the same flexibility. So you have the 24 and the 25 season. After that, I think it starts to get a little hairy, for the Dolphins, because they've hit on too many players and they're going to have to pay too many players. But the good thing is, like you just mentioned right now, there are several salaries that they can get out of going into next season. So they'll have plenty of opportunities to kind of get that down. Okay, so you're not expecting a Tua extension?
I, See, based on Chris Greer's answer, I'm not sure. See, I'm telling you what I would do. Chris Greer's answer, expecting him to play for the long term at a high level, he kind of left himself open to either or. He's never going to speak in absolutes.
He never
So
does.
he may.
Never does.
I feel like they might end up just giving him a modest offer, like in the lower 40s, and then saying, hey, look, because Daniel Jones got $40 million a year. I know that was made that offseason. That might have been a number that the team was targeting. And then at some point this season, he was probably outplaying it. And then he was staying healthy, where you're looking at all the quarterbacks that got over 50. You're not going to pay him like that. But if you give him a modest offer, and Tua is such a team guy that if he does indeed say, if he puts his money where his mouth is as far as not being a me guy, being a team guy, and says, okay, that I could accept for long term if it allows us, everything is explained to him as far as the benefits of what the team could do flexibility wise with the salary cap. And if he wants to take it, then great. But if he feels, no, I mean, I see what certain quarterbacks are getting paid and I want to be paid like them, even if it's not the Jalen Hurts contract, the Joe Burrow, the Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson that are over 50 per year, even if it's a tier below that and he feels he deserves more, then maybe he does turn that down. And then you say, all right, well, this is what we're comfortable with. And if you are not seeing it the same way, then we'll play out the fifth-year option. We could take it to a franchise tag the following season, and then we'll go from there. Maybe you earn that extension going forward, but right now we don't want to commit. That's what I would do. Greer, maybe he wants to make that modest offer first.
Okay, what do you think will happen? What's your gut tell you?
I would say there's that modest offer and first, and maybe Tua does take it. Maybe, if he's truthful as far as just how team first he is, every answer, it's like whenever you ask him about what he did, then he's always like, oh, well, the team did this and that. So if that's truly his mindset, then, he'll take a fair deal. That's what he has earned to this point, maybe not that extra that everyone else is getting. And then he'll say, okay, that's what I want for this team to be able to succeed.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Before you came on, I was making a case for making a move for Derrick Henry. I think you need to add a little more oomph to this running game and a little more power to this running game. I think you could get him for a 2-year deal. I don't think you're gonna be locked into signing him for a 5. I don't think you're gonna have to overpay him either. Because I think most people won't be overpaying for backs as it is, because they don't. But I think he would add a element, and as I've pointed out, he purposely the last 2 years actually caught more passes, and I think he wanted to do that to kind of show people, because he knew he was leaving. He wanted to show people that he could catch the ball too, and so I think that's also important. If you're the Dolphins, would you go after a guy like Derrick Henry?
Yeah, and before I came on, one point I heard you making that I'm in agreement with is that if it convinces Mike McDaniel to stick to the run, and especially with Derrick Henry, if it convinces Mike McDaniel to stick to the run in short yardage situations, because he's a power back and he can really handle those specific scenarios. So clearly Mike McDaniel didn't trust the Mostert Achane combination in those type of scenarios enough.
Well, they're more finesse. They're finesse guys. They're not really power guys,
Right.
So, that way you have a 4. Like Jeff Wilson doesn't come back in this scenario, obviously, but now you have a 4.
You need someone to go.
Yeah. You have Henry and Brooks backing Henry, and then you have Mostert and Achane, and so you have those 4, and then you can, keep a 5th back, whatever, another developmental back or something that you find in the draft or something like that. That's what I would do, actually. That's the way I would run it.
Yeah, it becomes a crowded backfield for sure. I mean, because you got to get Achane his touches. Mostert just had a career year, but it also preserves all of them too, because they dealt with, Mostert has historically dealt with injuries. He did at the end of the season. He was as healthy as he has been for most of the year, but then missed the 2 games, was hobbled going into the playoff game. HN missed time. So you minimize how much toll you're putting on each one of them. You have a bit of a 3-headed monster, then that's pretty beneficial for this offense.
Yeah, I personally, for me, I think it would be an absolute home run to add Derrick Henry to this offense, and it would really take it to the next level. Vic Fangio, your thoughts on Fangio's future with the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah. Now, are you thinking from McDaniel's perspective or his perspective?
I'm
If you
thinking about
want to
his
come back,
perspective. Yeah, does
his
he want to come
perspective,
back?
if you would want to come back. Now,
There's a lot of money on the table for him to walk away. So,
It is, and he's 65, and I feel like Jalen Ramsey, probably from what he was voicing to us in the media, was probably giving him a hard time over wanting to shadow guys. And I could understand if Fangio was saying, "I don't need to deal with this shit. Like I am who I am, and I've coached this many years. Let me call the defense, and then just stick to your assignment." Now, I would like to see him be more flexible. We did see him do that with Garrett Wilson, but as far as just not always sticking to his guns. Now, we saw him blitz more when he had to, when he didn't have his edge rushers in that playoff game. But I think he'll take some time, and then he'll make a decision. I feel just knowing that this defense has a lot of potential and this team has potential to go all the way going into next year. I think after some time off, then he'll certainly just decide to come back. It's a big opportunity to win a ring late in a career, and he's got the pieces in place. He's going to need to get Jalen Phillips off the rehab, Bradley Chubb off the rehab.
That's the problem, dude. He doesn't have Phillips and Chubb.
He'll add them mid-season. So
and they won't be themselves. We also have to. Well, we're doing something very dangerous here. Okay, just because Chubb and Phillips are coming back at some point next year, halfway or 3/4 of the way, let's make sure we realize that you're not getting the player back. You're getting a guy that still has to rehab and become the player he was. None of these guys coming off knee injuries are the guy that left. So Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb will not be themselves in the 2024 season at no point. At no point will you recognize those guys. So even next year, whenever you do get them, you're really not getting back the real Chubb and the real Phillips until 2025, probably.
Yeah, and Andrew Van Ginkel is going to be such a priority because of that. You're going to need him to carry a lot of that pass rush load, and you're going to need someone else too. You're going to need someone opposite him for the time being. That then those guys will be rotational once you do get whichever one comes first. Chubb with the ACL was a month after Phillips, so I think that would probably put him on a slightly quicker timeline. But it's going to be some weeks to get through, and you hope it's not too tough of an early season schedule. The good thing for the Dolphins is they have a great home field advantage early in the season, so maybe that lifts the defense through that early portion and a second year under Fangio, things like that. Interior pressure, if it's Zach Sealer, you already know is coming back. If you do have Christian Wilkins coming back, if that can sort of supplement what you're going to be missing, and then it'll be a boost, maybe not a huge boost if they're not themselves coming back initially, but they are coming back from longer rehabs than, say, Jalen Ramsey, who pretty quickly turned into a version of himself mid to late portions of last season.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. He definitely looked good this year. Hopefully, we can keep him healthy for the entire 2024 season, and that'll be a lot of fun watching that guy play a whole season. I was going to ask you, what was I going to ask you before I let you go here? Damn it! Now it slipped my mind that I was going to ask you something. McDaniel,
It happens to me all the time in press conferences too.
Yeah. Do you expect McDaniel to maintain play calling?
Ooh. Well, so I asked this question actually at his end of season news conference. He did say everything is on the table, said everything is fair right now. It'll be interesting because Frank Smith, his offensive coordinator right now, is getting some head coach looks, Carolina Panthers, Seattle Seahawks. If he doesn't land any of those jobs, then that could be a nice incentive for him. Right. Yeah.
He ain't landing any job. It's good experience for him.
Yes.
Go through all of this, God bless him for that. But he has not developed a resume that somebody's going to give him a head coaching job. Not yet. Not yet.
Right.
He has to run the offense and kind of show that. You know what I mean? And so that's the question. Does he hand it over to Frank Smith?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, where then that could be a nice incentive for him. All right, so we see you're getting some of these looks. Here's something that we can add on to your plate, and then from McDaniel allows him to oversee the whole operation. He was surprisingly more open to it when he answered the question than I expected him to be. So that's a good sign to see from McDaniel, that he's able to look himself in the mirror. And I wonder if that also came from higher ups coming to him and saying, hey, what's the deal with the play calling? We see it from up there. You need to either make some tweaks or figure something out. And then maybe that it does end up being the move for McDaniel to allow him to delegate those duties to Frank Smith, who I think can more than handle them, and then allow Frank Smith to be a first-time play caller. Mike McDaniel was a first-time play caller coming in as head coach, because that year in as OC with the 49ers, it was Kyle Shanahan, of course, calling plays there. So he tried to do it the same way Kyle Shanahan did. And maybe he looks at himself and says, okay, well, I am not running it the same way that Kyle did over there. Let's do it a little differently, and let's see how Frank Smith can do taking a shot at it.
Guaranteed players who are gone.
Guaranteed players who are gone. So, like, I'm leaning toward X being out of there. I know they could save. It's $18.5 million toward the cap if it's post June 1. So that's an option, and he seems to see it that way from his final interview on Locker Cleanout Day. Emmanuel Ogbah is on that void year. He is easily right, easy choice right there to clear up some room. So that's where I start. Anyone else that you're looking at or thinking about?
You tell me. There's nobody else you think that will be at risk at all? You think Jeff Wilson? You think Jeff Wilson comes back?
Well, yeah. If you get another running back, if like let's say something develops with Derrick Henry, who I saw this interview where he was saying that in the draft he wanted to go to Miami, so that's an interesting nugget to take into the offseason. So, yeah, if a certain position group like running back gets crowded, then that's something I could see for sure.
Okay, Connor Williams, Rob Hunt, Wilkins. You tell me.
Well, Connor Williams is a free agent. Connor Williams is straight up a free agent. So, and he's coming off the knee injury. So that's a very intriguing one.
Are you expecting him back, or do you think he's gone?
Well, I think you can get him at a cheaper rate than you would have based on this injury. So, especially with how well he was playing at center, and at times getting those snaps under control, and then just all the other aspects of center were really good. Then, even if he's one of those guys that does end up having to leak into the season as far as his rehab, and you probably get him at a discount because that happened. So that would be a plus. And I think Rob Hunt is such a valuable right guard for this offensive line, especially as Teron Armstead ages, the questions with Connor Williams. It would be really beneficial to the Dolphins to lock him up long term. So I think that is someone that you do want to make sure you give what he wants, but reasonable, of course. But even Armstead said he sees Hunt as on track to becoming the best guard in the league. And I don't know if it's going to go that far, but some high praise for him.
Yeah, I would. I expect Hunt back. You expect Wilkins back?
Wilkins seems iffy to me. If you saw that last Hard Knocks episode, his words kind of were like, hey, you guys carry this into the offseason for motivation. Almost like, wait, how come not everybody? How come just you guys? You're not including yourself in that? So, yeah, it seems like he's very committed to a number, and the Dolphins felt that they offered him something reasonable that he maybe scoffed at a little bit. And he did prove that he could bring in the interior pass rush. Now, does the Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb do those injuries incline the Dolphins to say, okay, we need to keep this combination of him and Sealer together because we need the pass rush to come from somewhere if we're going to have replacement level edge rushers until those guys are back, Andrew Van Ginkel being one of them who is above a replacement level edge rusher. So very good to have him, but you're going to need that pass rush to come from somewhere. So if Wilkins had the 9 sacks last year. Sealer got into double digits. Then that's a starting point for sure. It may incline the Dolphins to go ahead and lean a little bit more, especially with this window. You don't want to decrease somewhere where you're already strong as you're really trying to win now. So I could see that happening.
Okay. All right. What do you got going on in the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, my brother?
Yeah, just covering the offseason right now. A little bit of time off, but I just posted yesterday Cam Smith story. So if X is indeed gone, as we've spoken about here and as we've written, then could Cam Smith be an option? He did not show up in his rookie year. So now a key offseason for him in development, if indeed he can rise to the occasion and be that kind of guy in Vic Fangio's defense. And then I've got some interviews saved up with a few different guys, maybe lower on the roster players. I'll probably come out with a feature on Anthony Schwartz. I spoke to him, the local kid who was on the practice squad, coming back on a futures contract. So, he really enjoyed his time about midseason, coming back to play for his hometown team and, just looking toward his future. A guy who has played in the NFL, been on the practice squad now, and, a speedster too, a world-class track speed too, out of American Heritage. So,
you should do a story on Tanner Connor.
Yeah,
Seriously,
I mean,
that guy's going on his 3rd year, not doing a goddamn thing for this team, and he is stealing more money without a gun and a mask than anybody else out there. Okay, there was a corner that was on the Dolphins roster for like 3 years, Jeff something, several years back. And he just kept making it on the roster, and just like him, like a practice squad, like never played. And it was 3 years that the guy just made money. Tanner Connor either has naked pictures of somebody in that organization, because that dude is about to get another free ride for a 3rd straight year. He's my hero, David. He's my hero. Okay,
well, I'm sure from
track and do nothing for 3 years. Just watch everybody else and get paid for it. Tanner Connor is top-notch thievery.
Well, I'm sure from Tanner's perspective, it was a bummer for him not to make the active roster after he did his rookie season as an undrafted guy, and then Julian Hill took his spot after Tanner Connor had to deal with an injury, get back into things, and Julian Hill emerged from all that. So on some level, I believe it had to be a bummer for him to be bumped down to practice squad after making the initial 53 as a rookie.
Right. I don't know, man. He's my hero, bro. That guy is just the man. Period. He's like that guy that just got a 9th year of college eligibility already. I mean, that's Tanner Connor in the NFL. That is freaking awesome. All right, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, as always, thank you, my brother. Have a terrific day. We will catch up down the line.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There you go. The great David Furones. He'll be back on Tuesday. It'll be Monday and Thursdays now for my man David Furones, since we don't have games anymore. And by the way, of course, our friends at Welt and Rheaume, make sure you call them 954-966-4646. Bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury. And let me tell you, you might not need a lawyer right now, but if some kind of damage comes to your condo, home, whatever, here in South Florida, reach out to the people at Welt and Rheaume. By the way, they also have offices in the Keys. So the office is in Hollywood for South Florida and also the Keys. One of our listeners in Orlando hired Welt and Rheaume. So they hire them from all over the place, and we thank you for using the sponsors that are great sponsors and support our platform. It's very important you support our great sponsors, because we will not be around if we don't have the sponsors. So make sure you call them 954-966-4646.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.